Well, let's get started. Welcome to the Unchaining Modern Slavery Webinar. We're really pleased that you've joined us for our final webinar for 2022. And we trust that the content today will be current, relevant and helpful to you and your organization, whether you are a conscious consumer and you'd like to know more about the issue of modern slavery and how you can take part perhaps in volunteering or advocacy, or you're an organization that needs to comply with the Modern Slavery Act and you need some assistance with this, whether or not you're a reporting entity, you're mandated, or you find yourself as a supplier in the labyrinth of a supply chain, and you need to step up to the plate in order to maintain your license to operate. Unchained has the perfect turnkey solution for you, and we'll share a little bit more about that as we continue today. I'm Dr. Stephen Morse. I'm the founder of Unchained Solutions, and I lead a team of excellent, amazing people who have made today possible. This is a very special occasion for Unchained. We are here to inspire Australian organisations to be leaders in making an impact on modern slavery. And as you'll note, if you've joined us before, you'll note that we've got a bit of a different brand colour scheme going on. We've been working hard over the last few months to have a bit of a brand lift, to shift the gear in terms of our look, add a little bit of yellow and orange, just to add that touch of warmth, which reflects the empathy that we have, both to organisations who are finding this issue completely complex and they don't know what to make of it and how to make an impact, despite the mandate that is upon them, but also, and more especially, upon those within our community in Australia and overseas who are caught up in cycles of exploitation due to all sorts of market forces, which leads to poverty, debt bondage, and forms of exploitation, trafficking, for example, and forced labour or debt bondage. And so, Unchained is here to both advocate for those who are exploited, who don't have a voice in this space, and also to come alongside and support those within the community, whether that's business leaders, large corporates, individuals who would like to make an impact in this space. Although we are a private entity or a private company, we do also like to speak and give a voice in this space and use our own voice as a strong point of advocacy for those who are affected in this way. I'd like to begin with an acknowledgement of country, recognising that people are joining us from many places in Australia, if not in other parts of the world. And today I'm speaking from Garigal country, which is upon which parts of the northern beaches of Sydney is based. And so in the spirit of reconciliation, Unchained acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past, present, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Well, as I mentioned, this is a very exciting day for us at Unchained because here today, we're at the end of this year, we are launching our brand new e-learning modules, which are designed to help industry professionals to gain the skills and insights to address modern slavery risks. We're also going to be launching our brand new website, and the presentation behind me gives an indication of the color scheme and the style of that website. And you can obviously Google that yourselves and have a quick look, but we'll be going through that today and how the e-learning modules, how you can buy those, purchase those e-learning modules through our website and the specific landing page that we have for that. Just to celebrate, I won't drink this, but I've got my champagne and champagne flute just to celebrate. This is a point of celebration for us, and in that I want to really acknowledge all the work that has gone into making this possible from members of our team, both here in Australia and those who have been supporting us throughout the world. And I'll make special note of those people towards the end of our presentation today. Unchained hosts these webinars with a view to advancing the conversation around the issue of modern slavery. And we really deeply care about this issue. We are committed to it, both through the lived experience that many of our team have had in working with survivors in different contexts. So we come to the issue of modern slavery not from just from a theoretical point of view or a report that we've read. We've actually had firsthand knowledge and interaction with those who've been impacted. And we've combined those insights with the skills and expertise and tools to help organizations advance with the Modern Slavery Act and to lead beyond compliance. Throughout our webinar today, and there'll be opportunities for you to ask questions. So I invite you to put those questions in the chat. I've also got just a short 3-question survey for you to complete at the end of our time together, just to give us the feedback that we need for continuous improvement. So please put in your questions as we go through into the chat, and I will definitely make sure I've got time at the end to answer those as we go through. So I'm just going to share my screen and continue with the presentation. So there are 4 things I just want to cover off on today as we celebrate. Just a little bit about Unchained, for those who don't know much about who we are and what we're about what the requirements of the Modern Slavery Act are, particularly as they pertain to training products and training enterprise-wide training, which will then lead into the e-learning piece. And then we'll do a little bit of a show and tell with our website reveal. So just a little bit about Unchained. As I mentioned, we inspire Australian organisations to be leaders in this space, and we see a lot of scope for leadership in addressing the issue of modern slavery. We see the Modern Slavery Act really as a vehicle for helping organisations to address not just this human rights violation, but a range of human rights violations because of the criteria that's attached to the legislation. And it really helps organizations to put in place the right policies and procedures and mechanisms for continuous improvement and due diligence. So we want to see the Modern Slavery Act implemented in every boardroom in Australia, however big that is, so that business leaders can make a positive social impact. Unchained is also a social enterprise, and a portion of our profits go to ending modern slavery. And we fund social enterprises through the Freedom Business Alliance, which is an organization based in Houston in the United States. This organization has more than 100 social enterprises who work directly with survivors of modern slavery and people who are at risk. And they provide vocational training and meaningful employment. So they work with people who have come out of some form of exploitation. They've gone through a therapeutic process, and this is the next stage for them to actually gain some skills, some expertise, some experience in high-end market areas in order for them to rebuild their lives and make an impact for themselves. We call modern slavery survivors because we don't want to see them as victims. We see them as people who've been impacted and they've got something to contribute, and we've got a lot to learn from those in the space who have been affected so terribly by this global crisis, this issue. As mentioned, Unchained has the unique lived experience in humanitarian work with the survivors of modern slavery. And we've combined this with the knowledge, tools, and expertise to assist organizations in supply chain analysis, risk assessment, strategy, policy development, training, and the engagement of employees to accelerate the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And there are 4 goals that we see that we plug into, 5, 8, 12, and 17 around gender equality, decent work, responsible consumption, and partnerships. And Unchained as an organization, we demonstrate our commitment to partnerships. We have lots of channel partners and strategic partners. We feature on lots of different platforms. And really, we want to work with industry, with government, with NGOs to make a lasting impact in this space. So we're here to collaborate and to be the link in the chain of great work that's already being done and continues to be done. Our solution is a turnkey solution, and there are 5 solution areas. There's strategy, analysis, training, documents, and research. Through strategy, we help organizations reevaluate and look at their risk management framework. We can also, coming out of a risk assessment piece, help them to strategize with suppliers and identify those suppliers that they need to outreach. And that extends beyond just issuing an SAQ. It is actually about elevating suppliers and treating them as integral business partners to the organization rather than some top-down approach. We also have an impact measurement strategy, and this pertains to criteria 5, to help organizations to have the right framework to measure the effectiveness of the actions that they're taking. Our analysis work really is around the direct supplier risk assessment piece. around looking at the procurement data, and we'll go more into that. There are modules that actually pertain to that. And then we partner with other organizations such as Trace SEI to do more deep dive vertical mapping, traceability and transparency work, and a social audit through their partner Kima. Training, we have a range of training products from expert presentations from me and our director, Sarah Morse, who gives a motivational keynote address. We also provide skills training workshops, and as we'll be revealing today, our e-learning modules. In documents, we work with your policies, we review policies and also provide inputs for modern slavery risk and other human rights. And we can also help you to develop your policies and create the right templates for that. Likewise, we work with your modern slavery statements. We have a whole comprehensive review of statements, and we regularly provide insight papers into different industries around how business is actually addressing this issue. And we can also help you and work with you to develop your statement. And finally, we have lots of research work that we do in partnership with the Macquarie Business School. We have Zyril, who's our PhD student, and we research the corporate engagement and assess some of the gaps, the challenges and opportunities for different organizations by their sector to actually address modern slavery risk. So if you'd like to know more about Unchained and how we can assist you, all these solution areas can be wrapped around various levels of maturity with the Modern Slavery Act legislation. Just want to stop there and just as a piece, give you insight into why it's important for organizations to do the work and to invest, and I use the word invest, in addressing the risk of modern slavery and other human rights violations. This is not a nice to have issue, and there are serious consequences and unknowns. And it's important, therefore, that industry professionals are well equipped to identify and address and deal with these issues. You may recall way back in May this year, the incident involving a shipping line, AG Neptune, which was arrested off the coast of Newcastle, finally having been detained at the port of Gladstone in Queensland. It was originally detained for concerns around contamination to do with the fuel that was on board that was owned by Viva Energy. The ship was being chartered by Vital, a UK-based shipping charter company, and the ship itself is a Liberian-owned ship. And the fuel came from Taiwan. So lots of different countries, lots of different entities involved. This ship was actually finally arrested by the AMSA. Because having found and addressed and looked into the concerns around contamination, it was also to identify that there were seamen on board who were suffering under severe human rights violations to do with wage theft, poor quality accommodation and food, and also the lack of healthcare provided to them. As a result, this ship was therefore banned from Australian waters, and it's been a big case for the AMSA, and really raised concerns for some of our clients around some of the unknowns that could occur. It raises questions around, well, would the human rights violations been discovered if the environmental concerns had not been raised in the first place? And so when we're thinking about addressing the issue of modern slavery, there is a lot to be said for, yes, working with data and algorithms, but also making sure that you do the checks and balances on different credentials, different auditing. Where was the gap? I suppose the question is, where were the gaps and why did this occur in the first place? And that's a question, obviously, for the courts to decide. So the Modern Slavery Act has been in play now since 2019, and you may be aware that the legislation is currently going through a review process. There's an opportunity for individuals, civil society, businesses, and others to actually provide input into the legislation. There's a consultation paper that has been issued, and it's closing soon. So papers need to be submitted at the end of next week. And Unchained will be also providing its own insights based on its engagement with industry, the clients that we have and the clients that we've tried to work with, who perhaps have not done as much work as they could have done over the last few years. And so our insights will be based on our experience of working with different companies and some of the gaps, challenges and opportunities that we've seen coming through. The rationale for our e-learning modules comes out of the criteria of the Modern Slavery Act. And if we look at some of the criteria there, the crux of the legislation has to do with describing the risks and describing the actions taken to address those practices. And really the whole idea of training, providing training for staff, whether that's at a high level around awareness, understanding the issues, understanding perhaps some of the stories, the case studies, understanding what the legislation requires, that's all important high-level information that you may need to roll out to your organization enterprise-wide. But there's also a case for making sure that those who are at the forefront of supplier engagement, procurement professionals, supply chain professionals and logistics, those who are perhaps contract managers, those who are site managers, for example, those who are in legal and compliance, also have a more technical understanding of what it means to address modern slavery risks beyond the high level awareness. And this is really the rationale for what Unchained is putting forward at the moment in terms of our modules, is really to in one sense, provide the high level awareness piece, but to also provide more detailed and technical content to actually help industry professionals to address the issue of modern slavery. And so we come down to the modern slavery e-learning modules that we've put forward. As we can identify, Australian organisations are directly contributing to the risk of modern slavery, both locally and internationally. The Modern Slavery Act has given rise to a new era of compliance that asks large organisations to address and assess modern slavery risks in their supply chains and operations, and industry professionals need the skills, training and assistance to meet the expectations of the Act. So we really think that this training is for you if number one, need to comply with the Act itself as a reporting entity. You're part of a larger entity supply chain and operations, and you see that you need the skills and the expertise and the understanding to maintain your license to operate in an emerging ESG reporting business landscape. And we're seeing that this is becoming increasingly important, that it's not just those who have 100 million in annual consolidated revenue that need to comply with the Act. There are many small entities now that are being asked to do more. And I recently had a conversation with a smaller entity who perhaps a couple of years ago was simply asked to provide a policy or a very simple position statement in order to satisfy the needs of their client and perhaps have a cursory understanding of perhaps where the risks are with some of their products within the organization. They're now being asked to step up. And step up in terms of training, step up in terms of not just having a simple policy, but a comprehensive policy portfolio, which will include a supplier code of conduct, a supplier assessment piece, will include a grievance policy and mechanism, for example. And as well, to have a much more comprehensive understanding of who they're buying from and what they're doing to assess risk, and perhaps also considering where they need to source elsewhere in order to be more responsible in their purchasing. So there's a great need and a growing need, and I anticipate that this will continue into 2023 as the legislation goes forward into review, and perhaps through that process, the legislation will be strengthened and we'll see greater provisions attached to what organisations need to do. Well, number three, perhaps you're voluntarily complying with the Act because you're committed to a real impact on modern slavery. And I have one of these clients, an NFP, that is actually doing just that, sees that their adherence to addressing modern slavery risk is really part of the broader ESG framework in which they're operating. And finally, you're inspired to equip your staff on modern slavery risks and the positive impact that needs to be made to give assistance and expertise. Well, our promise is this. There's a lovely photo of me in the same shirt. We understand that addressing modern slavery risk is complex, and which is why we've actually developed these modules. And we've actually, in the sense, worked to bring you more up-to-date understanding, because this is a moving feast. Things are changing all the time, and our understanding of what we need to do is evolving over time. And so what we're doing here is really to give you a step-by-step walk through different aspects of the criteria, and really to give you some tools to actually enact and do the work yourself. And if you need further assistance, then Unchained can help you to do that work for you if you don't have the internal capacity to do those works. But we really wanted to give you the tools and the skills to give you a solid foundation to assess and address modern slavery risks. What you'll get are 6 informative and practical e-learning modules that train professionals, whether that be a supplier, a procurement professional, or company director. And we've included animations, case studies, quizzes, PDFs, templates, and a certificate in the end, so that you can say, I've done this training, which is important. So we're wanting to make this an experience which is interactive for you, which you can have access to other resources and do your own research. So you can learn something here and then go on and do further research as you like. And part of our commitment too in producing these modules is that we will continue to improve them in order to be on top of good practices as they emerge, and as we get more clarity on what it is that organizations need to do, and as legislation changes. And as recently happened with the ILO report, there's an update on the number of people at risk of modern slavery. Why trust Unchained? Well, firstly, we're values driven. So we're committed to integrity, trust, and transparency, and in providing good practice. So that at the core of who we are as an organization, we've seen very firsthand what this means. And so for us, this is not just another consulting piece. This is very much, we are deeply committed in ourselves to actually addressing this and assisting organizations. Our expertise comes from the lived experience, as well as the expertise we have in sustainable procurement, analysis, governance, strategic thinking, and facilitation. And the leadership, as I mentioned earlier, a turnkey solution, which has evolved and emerged over the last 3 or 4 years to really help organizations in a modular way piece together the different components that they need, depending on the level of maturity that they have in addressing the act and what they need to do at that point in time. So let's go through an overview of the modules. Well, Module 1 is around engaging with the issue of modern slavery. And this module has been around for a good part of 12 months. It's been an offering from us for a long time. And what we've done with this module is update it according to changes in the legislation and changes in our understanding of what the risks are. And so really this module, this e-learning module, is designed to engage your entire team with a solid understanding of the issues of modern slavery and the Act, and how this impacts business. And it also provides some insights, because we like to be practical, in actually helping you to become a much more conscious consumer, and some strategies and ideas for what that actually looks like for you in your particular context. And this is actually important for those organizations that are actually going for, say, a B Corp certification. One of the requirements of B Corp is that organizations and their team have KPIs attached to sustainability. So this is a very good tool for actually helping you to become more sustainable in your personal life, will actually contribute to your professional KPIs. The second module is around developing a framework for responsible sourcing. And so this is actually particularly for procurement professionals, to help them to actually think through what it means to operate ethically and sustainably, and in terms of their sourcing. So this is all around procurement and ethical sourcing and sustainability. And yeah, we provide an overview of the distinction between sustainability and ethics, and the importance of stakeholder governance, and what it actually means to comply in this way. So it's kind of the broader understanding of sustainability and sustainable procurement especially for procurement professionals. The third piece then flows from that, and this is around how to best identify and manage modern slavery risks. And here we actually walk you through more of the sort of technicalities of what it means to identify risk and what those risks are, and how do we actually best go about identifying those risks, and what we can do to categorize and systematize the process and create the right foundations for further due diligence. Module 4 is about developing policies. So this may not necessarily be within the purview of procurement and supply chain management and logistics, but certainly when it comes to the development of good policies, a stakeholder-based approach is important in order to discern the right needs. And so you will have these type of professionals will actually be able to contribute quite substantially to an effective policy portfolio to address risk. And so module 4 is all about policies and creating the right policies for your organization, what you need to include in that portfolio in order to best manage the risks, assess those risks, and the right procedures that you need to have in order to manage suppliers and engage them effectively in addressing this issue of modern slavery. Module 5 is about measuring the effectiveness of actions taken. And so this module is specifically designed to sort of give an uplift to an area of compliance which has been noted as lacking in the space. Not many organizations perhaps have done this as well as they could have, and have given sort of a high level indications of what they're doing to measure perhaps outputs rather than outcomes. And so what we've done in this module is taken our training module that we have, as our training workshop that we have around this, and put it in a module so that we can actually map out what is actually impact measurement about. How do we actually measure effectiveness? What is the theory of change and the logic models around that? And what kind of issues, what kind of things activities we need to think about? What are the impact areas that we need to consider? What are the indicators and the metrics that we need to assign? And what are the inputs and the outputs, outputs and outcomes that we're looking to measure, and what kind of data strategy do we actually have around that? So it's quite an in-depth module looking at how to measure the effectiveness of actions taken. And finally, our final module is about going further. What is the future of modern slavery due diligence, and how can we take the ethical implications of that beyond the process? So this module is really about moving beyond those foundational levels that have been established through supplier data categorization and the overlay of risk, and the policy portfolio that you've developed and the strategy that you've designed to measure effectiveness. And this really is about thinking through what is the future, what is the additional investment that needs to be made? How do we actually go beyond the data sets and the algorithms and the formulas that we've created and the matrix that we've actually developed, which is important and foundational, and will give you an indication. How do we move beyond the indication of where risks are to actually verifying those risks, and what are those steps that we need to take in order to not simply just theorize, but actually get greater transparency and traceability? And so this module explores all that and my theories and thoughts around that process. So there's the 6 modules that we have on offer at the moment. I believe that modules 1, 2, 3, and 4 are currently on offer, and 5 and 6 are forthcoming, still being finalized, so they'll be available soon. In terms of how you can access these modules, I'll show you in a minute, but Unchained has a partnership with ASCII, the Australasian Supply Chain Institute. And these modules, if you're a member of ASCII, you'll be able to purchase these modules at a discount through your membership with ASCII. So it's one of the channels in which we're actually selling the modules. But let me just stop sharing here. and take you to the reveal, which will show you, oops, I need to get out of there. Let's take you to Unchained. So second, it's never a smooth transition into the sharing of the screen. So here we go. All right, so here we are. So this is our new website for Unchained Solutions. The old is gone, the new has come. And you'll see there's notable similar functions that we've got here. So on the front page, ways in which you can connect with us, schedule a free discovery that will take you to Calendly and set up a meeting with me. And you can also contact us via email there simply as well. We've got the main tools that we have. We've got an SME toolkit, which we've developed to help small business with the issue. Our strategic solutions will take you to the page around our solutions, and our e-learning modules will take you to that page as well. There's our promotion on the webinar. So we'll have some promotional things, a bit of information on the Freedom Business Alliance and our connection there, and then our contact details as per normal down the bottom. Under About Us, you'll find information about our value, our vision, and our mission, our purpose statements, and our amazing team. There we are, so you can engage with our team, and you can engage with our team on LinkedIn as well, and we'll walk through the different profiles. As you can see, I am outnumbered. I am still outnumbered as the only male on the team, but that I'm not threatened by that. I have an amazing team of women who are incredible, and I couldn't do what I do without them. We also got information on who we've worked with and our partners as well down the bottom. And we've done a lot over the last 12 months, especially to develop our partnerships and strengthen those partnerships with different credible organizations as our commitment to the space. Under solutions, you'll see our 5 solution areas, and that'll give you more information on the solutions that we offer. And then we've also here, before I go to e-learning, we've got different insight papers that we've developed for different sectors. Our media, you can plug into all our podcasts and podcast guesting and webinars and events that we've been part of. And we've also got a blog as well, and you can contact us as well as there. We go into e-learning. It'll take you to a main page, and there you've got access. You can have access directly to the high-level awareness module. That's module 1, engaging with the issue of modern slavery. And if you press on that, I think that's still the case. Oh no, that will take you exactly to where I want to go. Okay, so that will take you to the landing page for our e-learning modules, and this is all very hot off the press, I can tell you. So here's all the information which I've outlined in the presentation, what's included, why trust us, and you can then click through to purchase those. So if you go into buy now, it will take you to a landing page, and then you can actually enter. You can set up an account with us, and you can enter your email address and your credit card details, and you'll get access to that module. So our modules can be bought individually, separately, and they can also be bought as a package. And if you are a organization that would, say, for example, like to buy a package at a greater number, then we encourage you to get in contact with us, because then we can put together a package price for you, and you'll get the modules depending on the number, the volume of the enterprise wide agreement. We can actually reduce the cost per user and give you a good price for those modules if you want to buy in bulk. So that's that offer for you. So I invite you to take a look at our new website. I'm very pleased with it and very happy about it, and also the landing page link to our e-learning modules as well. I also understand that ASCII is in the process of also creating a new website, and so you'll have information through ASCII if you're an ASCII member to access those modules through ASCII, which you can also do at the moment, but there'll be a brand new website for them as well. So lots of rebranding going all around. Okay, well, that brings me to the end of my presentation, and I'm very open to any questions that you might have for our modules. I'm happy for those to go in the chat. There's a question that's come through. Thank you, Roger, for your question. Let me just read the question out. Thank you for your great work, Stephen. As an aside, how best can Unchained Solutions pressure the government to tighten the act, to move entities beyond merely describing processes to achieve effectiveness of actions, to revealing the results of their processes with quantified and qualitative assessments, i.e. ramping up the act rather than relying on entities to voluntarily go beyond compliance? I like that question, and I would, yes, Unchained is going to put their own submission in by the deadline. That's my commitment. That's my next urgent for next week. I see a number of things that the government could do in order to strengthen the legislation, and I think part of that is actually articulating, giving greater articulation, greater prescription actually to what organizations should be doing. The taking reasonable steps approach has in one sense been helpful in the sense of enabling organizations to find themselves, to sort themselves out without that due pressure, but it's also how I think had the unintended effect of actually letting people choose their own adventure. And I've seen too many entities doing that, just choosing doing the absolute minimum requirements, or even not even really doing any requirements, unfortunately. So I think having a greater articulation from government with resourcing would be very helpful in terms of, you know, for example, asking the simple question, well, what should a reporting entity be doing by year 3, by their 3rd modern slavery statement? What kind of actions and activities should they be taking and be engaged with? I think when it comes to the criteria 5, I'd like to see criteria 5 rephrased from just describe the process to actually describe some of those outputs and outcomes, and to demonstrate, with clarity, what are the measures, what are they measuring, and how they've gone about that, and what are the results. And that is a way of actually, I think, encouraging others and demonstrating to others what that means. Because one of the challenges that I've seen in working with organizations is they don't really know what to measure, and they don't know how to best articulate that. So a simple measurement might be, we want to minimize modern slavery risk. And it's like, well, I don't think you're in a position to effectively do that because you're so far removed from actually where the risks are. So the better question, starting point is, okay, where are you as an organization? What is your ecosystem? Where can you leverage? Where can you leverage influence? Where could you invest? Where could you partner? Where could you demonstrate leadership? Who could you be working with? Who could you be supporting to bring about, for example, working with a university to do more research and investing in that institution, or maybe a pool of universities to actually get some greater clarity? Because one of the missing pieces in Australia, at least, is some clear data, and we're very, very rough and anecdotal and unclear data, for example, of what's going on here even in Australia and the Asia Pacific, so the Oceania region. So I think there's lots of scope to actually being more specifics, more articulation, more prescription, and part of that I think will come with more if we had more funding. And similarly, if we had a similar situation with the New South Wales Act, if we had a commissioner, then we have a focal point, actually a lead person and their team who's actually a point of contact to actually drive the conversation and engage businesses. Okay, other questions? Rogers, thank you, Stephen. Do you have packages for universities to offer the modules? as part of credentialing as many universities are researching modern slavery? Sure, we can talk more about that in terms of how we could roll that out for universities in the thousands of people, if you've got that, hundreds of users. Certainly, we can tailor these modules in any way you like. For example, we currently, with our first module, that is locked into our setup solution. So our setup solution has 6 components, and one of those components is training products, access to the training module, and we've sold that through to organizations for up to, I think the maximum was about 800 users. So we can actually take each module individually and in a sense sell that at scale, and we could take a handful of modules and do likewise, or the whole shebang and do likewise. So if you want to talk more about that, we can certainly talk about how we can best put together the right package for a university, for example. Question, will my team be able to perform a modern slavery risk assessment by learning from the 6 modules? Well, the short answer there is that module 3 is specifically around categorization and risk. So the whole point of that module is to articulate the steps that we take to categorize suppliers according to UN SPSC codes, and to help you to segment into different risk categories. So first of all, understand who you're buying from. Second of all, what are according to the risk matrix, where are the risks according to country and by industry. So the whole idea of the module is really to give you some tools, the tools to actually do that process yourself, particularly if you're a small entity and you have a small pool of suppliers and you obviously don't have the budget and the capacity to outsource that necessarily. We can certainly work you and support you in that and provide advice around that. But if you want to also, but the whole idea of the module is to give you the tools and equipment so you can actually do that process yourself, particularly if you're a SME, a smaller entity, and you need to demonstrate to your client in a tender process who you're buying from and what is the nature of your supply chain. So yeah, just wait to see if there's any more questions. They're great questions. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your encouragement, all those who have encouraged us as well. Thank you. It's been a great joy to present today. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today. I just really wanted to just come back to that point of celebration and with the chandon and the glass, and I just wanted to give a shout out to some key people who have made this possible today. For the members of our team at Unchained, particularly Talita, Jasmine, and Brianna, who have done all the work on the content, the modules, putting all the pieces together. It's both the website content, the branding, and the modules has been incredible. And they've been supported by an offshore team, a host of amazing Brazilians, and Ariel Sousa and Susanna Sousa, and their business is called Move Digital. They're web developers. There's also Renata Reese, who's a graphic designer. She's based in Toronto in Canada at the moment. She's worked on our graphic design, our brand, and our landing page. And Daniel Snows, who's our graphic designer for the website page as well. So a great effort, collaborative effort, and I'm very thankful for all that has gone into making this possible today. So yeah, just wanted to end with sharing. Well, you can obviously, if you want to connect with me and talk with me further, very easy to do that. If you press this QR code, that will lead to Linktree, and you can connect with me in any way you like, LinkedIn, Facebook, website, email, the works. So I really enjoy talking to people. As you can see, I'm very passionate about this issue and would love to talk with you about your needs, whether or not you are an interested person and you want to know, how do I plug in to this issue? Where do I get started? And if you're a business leader, an organizational leader, and you want to do more work and you'd like to know more about how we can assist you, regardless of your starting point, please be in contact with us. So yeah, let me close there, and I just wish you well, and yeah, look forward to continuing the conversations with you. So thank you for joining us today.